I think Tony is very harsh on our fellow Europeans. I mean, entrepreneur is a French word. It's a European word. So if we look today at what's going on the planet, I mean, many great corporations were created by Europeans, are run by Europeans. If you look at social entrepreneurship, if you look at NGOs that have been created, the most global networks of NGOs that have been creating in the past decades, a lot of European people are behind that. So Tony is being very, very harsh with us. However, he or she might be Italian, might be UK based lady. He or she might get a point. We today are at the Olympics of entrepreneurship. There is the American team that is running 100 meters. There is the Chinese team that is running 100 meters. And we, the European team, we are running 110 meters with 27 hurdles. And obviously, guess what? The Americans or the Chinese are faster. So I wouldn't say that it's about red tape or regulations. We need to have regulations. We need to have good regulations. The problem is that we don't have one regulation for the continent. We have 27 national regulations. And that's where the problem is. I do believe in the power of good regulations. It can be very, very good for entrepreneurs. It's actually crucial to entrepreneurs. Corporate tax rates, high corporate tax rates can be also crucial to entrepreneurs because you don't build an ecosystem of innovation without public intervention. That doesn't exist nowhere on the planet. So I wouldn't blame tax rates. I wouldn't blame red tape. I would, however, say that we need to build this at continental level, and we have been, I would say, not very successful on our entrepreneurship journey to build continental frameworks.
Yeah, thanks, Tony, for bringing this very popular hypothesis forward. I think red tape is indeed an issue, and it can obviously slow down entrepreneurship. I would actually say that it's not the major issue. I think the major issue that I observe is more about, let's say, the willingness to take risk. And that seems to me, let's say, significantly lower pronounced in Europe compared to the US, for example. And I think that applies both to entrepreneurs but also in investors. I think that many people are really shying away from the risk to set up their own enterprise. And also investors are often very reluctant to invest into new startups. So I think it's more a mind shift and a mentality that we should jointly address to take risks and also to accept that things can be unsuccessful. Yeah, thanks, Basel. I think it's an important question to support entrepreneurs that are coming from, let's say, foreign backgrounds. So that is, I think, runs under the name of inclusive entrepreneurship. And I would think of at least two measures that are important to support those entrepreneurs. So I think one is providing some coaching to them so that they can really properly develop their business models and have some coaching support from an incubator or accelerator. And second is also providing some initial funding so that it helps them to get investors on board so that they can also start and test their new business idea.
Same thing. We really are failing. I'm fascinated by how bad we are at welcoming refugees, and especially at welcoming refugees who want to create or recreate a business. I mean, not all refugees on the planet want to join a big corporation. I mean, actually. There are very few refugees who want to join a big European corporation. There will be probably more options for them in starting their own business. So that clearly we are missing the point. And I think that's a very relevant comment that we should help refugees to create their own business, definitely.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Laszlo. Very good proposal that you are making. And I think indeed it's a very valid point that there should be a supporting environment that can help SMEs. And I think the commercial chambers that you mentioned or other, let's say, business support entities like also accelerators or incubators could be very helpful to, let's say, support SMEs. Although I have to say that, let's say, part of the adaptations to the new environment might also be, let's say, in the nature of an entrepreneurial entrepreneur, and that also, let's say, set up their enterprise so that they also need to adapt to changing circumstances in a certain way, let's say, by definition of their startup. But I fully agree there should be supporting incubation systems in place or support infrastructures that can help you to adapt to the new circumstances.
I would defocus a little bit. What's the average age of a SME founder? It's actually quite high. In some countries, the average is 55 years old. So there is clearly a question of generation that doesn't necessarily have to do with digital inclusion, but we tend to have some of our senior people who feel left behind the digital transition. So there are no obvious answers to this. You cannot solve a generational issue overnight. But definitely, yeah, probably the two most interesting initiatives. First is how do we make sure that these old or middle-aged SME founders are actually helped to give their company to younger founders, because if you just look at the stats, within the next 10 years, half of SME founders on the continent will be retiring. So how do we make sure that they transfer their business, that their businesses don't die as they are retreating, as they are retiring? And how do we make sure that more digital savvy younger founders actually get these businesses up and running after their founders retire? So that's, to me, that's clearly the thing that we need to achieve at continental level.